Okay, we'll move on to the next part of our talks today then. So we're working together to create a net zero neighbourhood. So we're looking at the bigger picture, challenges and opportunities, countdown to zero carbon for 2030. And Ollie Pendered, is from the Chief Executive of Community Energy South. So when you're ready, you have 30 minutes. No, you don't. You have 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's good. You don't want to hear me for 30 minutes. Because we've all got to get together and talk. I'll give you a bit of history, but first of all, I want to make the point that over the last 10 years, this sector has pushed and galvanised. And it's amazing to see everybody that's gathered today. And there's going to be some great conversations. There's 2,965 days to 2030. I got that off your website, Jill. And so if we can reach net zero by 2030 together, it's going to take all of the people in this room to galvanise and come together and form partnerships. You know, work together for communities, the council buildings, and businesses, and the community as a whole. So we need a behaviour change shift, but also policy shifts and finance. And over the last 10 years, people in this room have been working towards that. So the moment's come together now, and I'm extremely heartened to hear from David and the council that the council are fully behind it, but also from government and Caroline. So thank you very much for that. And it needs all of those parts to come together. So just a bit of history. About 8 years ago, the government did a regional energy strategy within BEIS, you know, when it formed and went from the Department of Energy and Climate Change. So they did a regional energy strategy which involved the LEPs. And that's kind of important in setting the scene. Then BEIS changed where they were coming from. They used those strategies. In fact, we did one in the southeast which combined the southeast LEP with Coastal Capital and also Enterprise M3 over in Hampshire. And it combined a strategy for the region. Now that's kind of important. It was an important moment because it focused in on energy and climate change and start to develop the region's policies. Then central government and BEIS formed the regional energy hubs using those strategies and started to push a regional agency just focused at sort of energy and climate change. And now today that agency is the Net Zero Hub in the southeast. And I'm sure there are representatives here today. So that's important. Over the last years then we had levelling up from the government. So the levelling up agenda after the net zero strategy, after COVID or during, to try and devolve funds to the councils and local authorities. Now there was a bit of a shift a year ago from the counties now to the districts and boroughs through levelling up funds. And so that's brought the power, if you like, in net zero back to the districts and boroughs, and that's really important. So the climate strategy that the council has developed for 2030 is fundamental on that, to enabling us to work together to take this neighbourhood, to take Eastbourne to net zero. We need those policy requirements and the buy-in from the council to do that. And I'm really heartened that because I know Andy Derling, but Jill and Robert have come together with Eastbourne Eco Action Network because it needs that arm's length connection to the communities and business to really bring that in. And Andy and his team, I know Andy from long back, and I know how passionate he is about this and the direction that he was travelling in. So it's important that we've got the council buy-in, the community buy-in, and the businesses together, because that's what is creating place. And that's fundamental. You know, we all have to work together. We can't push against each other. Now, within the region, my role is I'm Chief Executive of Community Energy South. It's over 10 years ago, we worked with 12 community energy groups focused on the Avesco model in Lewis. So Avesco had set up a community energy group, and they were harnessing community finance to take the community on the journey to net zero. And that's important because as a volunteer, I was in that office and the phone was ringing from around the UK and from around the world saying, how can we do what you did? How can we harness community finance and build local renewables? And we set up a mentoring program for 12 community energy groups across Sussex. And they are some of the leaders in the country now. There's 350 community energy groups across England. And they're kind of, what we did in Sussex provided the core for that. And at the beginning, we were activists. It's true. We pushed against the system. You know, we challenged people. And that didn't make us very friendly for some. But now, those groups, between them, employ over 30 full-time staff. And that's really important. And we work together with the councils. So it's really heartening to see that these policies are falling in place. Recently, I went up to see Chris Skidmore, who is the MP running the Net Zero Review, which takes 3 months. And I think that's really important to mention what I heard from Chris and share with you. We went up to Oxford, and Oxford is a pioneer in energy. They've been extremely successful over the years with Low Carbon Oxford, harnessing central government funding. And they have a huge battery in the middle of Oxford. They've just launched and balanced the system. They've got Cozy Homes Oxford, which is a retrofit program, and countless of other, solar projects, up to nearly 20 megawatts, I think, of community-owned solar projects, where they've embedded the council, the DNO, SSEN in that area, and also the community. But, government, it's fair to say that government has, and the sector and the UK, has invested a lot of focus in on Oxford to enable that. But it's given us a showcase on how to do it. We have others, Bristol, City Leap, who are leading, the green city of the European Green City, and they have the Bristol City Leap with huge finance flowing towards Bristol and coordinating them to get to net zero. So lucky Bristol. And also in Manchester, Greater Manchester, with the mayor pushing Manchester to get to net zero. So it's moving, these projects are moving forward. And I think that's really important that we shine a light, our lovely solar sun that we get here in Eastbourne, on this area, on Eastbourne and Lewis, this district, and East Sussex, and say, we can do it better than Oxford and, Bristol, as well as them, learn from them, but, leapfrog them. And we have the expertise in this room. So Chris Skidmore's 6 pillars that he talked about while he reviews the net zero strategy, and I'm sure a lot of you have input to the net zero strategy, and well done. So number 1 pillar was to secure net zero. That's really important. Let's secure net zero in policy, embed it within the councils and the local authorities. And that means supply chains and skills. We need those skills. Energy with the council have set up a training centre here in Eastbourne to train the next generation of retrofitters and installers. It's really important. Powering net zero, so reviewing the barriers and the policy requirements to unnet net zero. Kensington, dear old Kensington, with all their Land Rovers, they unlock the barrier for listed buildings in conservation areas to have solar on them. It's really important we unlock that, with the conservation officers and move forward so we can make our homes net zero as well, and our businesses. So net zero for business. So supporting business to get on the net zero journey. Make your businesses net zero and work with all these partners. It's really fundamental, and it will save people money. And there's all sorts of ways to finance that. Net zero in the community, so place-based programs. It's really important. Come and speak to Avesco and Besco, who you'll speak to later. They're two of the leading community energy companies, not-for-profits in the UK, and they are here in this region working, and Energise Sussex Coast as well. And they can work with the communities to harness community wealth, build renewables and finance it, or even work with you as businesses to blend your own finance with community finance and bring your community into your business through making your business net zero. Net zero for the consumer. We've got to change behaviours. You know, there's vulnerable households, there's that middle income bracket, and there's the able to pay market, you know, the high network individuals who can move to net zero easily. But we need to help, I'm convinced we need to help the middle income bracket with finance, with sustainable finance, low interest finance, so that they can borrow at low interest and make their homes net zero. We're paying 45 pence a kilowatt hour now. We could be putting solar on our roofs, everybody roofs, and benefiting from 6 pence a kilowatt hour. And again, the technology, the knowledge to do that is in this room. Needs my face. Right. And then finally, net zero for the future. So we need government to really step up and think about what net zero for the future looks like and jump up there in 5 years' time and think about the policies that we need. There's something called the local electricity bill. Why can't we generate solar locally and buy it locally? Why can't we buy the power that Eastbourne Council are generating on their buildings? Why can't we share it with our neighbours? The electricity market is blocked. We need to unblock that, and the council have got to unblock it as well. So something we need to speak to Caroline about is joining the electricity bill if you haven't already. But I'm sure Andy's been on her case about that. And then carbon markets. You know, we need a carbon market as well to be able to get to net zero and create those, you know, the carbon and net gain benefits. And of course skills. Like I talked about earlier, it's really fundamental that companies like Ohm Energy are here and skilling up our communities. You know, with if we can embed people within the community, champions that can do a lot of work for the supply chain, but also supply chain can be prepared. I don't want to hear that they're 300% oversubscribed. We want to know that they're working at capacity, they have all the tools to do their job, that there's not a supply chain issue with inverters and things like that slow down the process. So we need to unlock those things. Talk about it today. And with that in mind, we have 2,965 days to 2030, and we can work together to do that. So in all, I'm going to go back to the question that we asked at the beginning.
We've got a lot of responses, I'll just slowly scroll through if you just ask me to keep scrolling.
Okay, Jill, thank you very much. I won't speak anymore. Let's look at the questions. Let's take my glasses off for that one. So how can all stakeholders work together effectively to achieve net zero by 2030? So talk to your local chamber and Eco Action. We will coordinate this. Yes, well done, the Chamber of Commerce as well. I should have mentioned you, and I'm sorry I didn't. Teamwork, absolutely. It's all in this room. Like I said, we have 10 years plus of knowledge in this room, and it now is the time to do this. Lots of communications. Yeah, this one, work in partnerships with other businesses and inspires others to get involved. I think if you are going to move as a business towards net zero, who else is in the town or the region that you can take on that journey? You know, your supply chains, but also other complementary businesses. And at the University of Brighton and the Sustainable Business Network, we have all sorts of support for that that's embedded in place, you know, with Locase and the team at University of Brighton as well will help coordinate that. And with university skilled people coming out of universities, master's students can get involved as well. Yeah, this thing about social impact with profits, you know, coordinate that social impact, the behaviour change is fundamental. Yeah, there's planning questions. Good. Do I need to read any more?
If there's any if anyone wants to elaborate on their questions, if there's any that need more detail.
Is anybody really pleased with their question? Do they want to stand up and say it? No, you're all, that's good. Okay, this one, assemble around a collective pathway which includes smart, ambitious, interim goals and sensible metrics. Lowest life cost, carbon abatement, rely on government at all levels to spread social costs and benefits throughout the community. Yeah, so also, you know, that link between the vulnerable and health department. In the budget yesterday, there was huge push towards the health department, and the work that the vulnerable support that East Sussex have been doing, but also the energy champions and citizens' advice with vulnerable customers. I mean, it's awful at the moment what's happening. People are turning off their lights. Imagine turning off your light now, the lights in here, and just using your phone lights so that you can save money to eat yourself. But what that's creating is people going into hospitals and having respiratory problems. And, you know, this issue this week with mold and things like that is so sad at this time, at this day and age. And, you know, that link with health as well and the NHS is really important for this sector. Yeah, we could go on. There's lots of them, and you can all talk about them. But without further ado, I will say thank you very much. Wish you all an excellent day. Extend our thanks to Jill and Andy and Robert again for putting this event together and the council. And wish you a really exciting and great day. Thank you very much.